Hello there and welcome to Dailyg number 3. Today I will go further with my story about my travels from Denmark. So to recap, the story ended last time in the Dailyg number 2 that I actually left Denmark, and leading up to that day of February 15th, 2010. I left to go to Australia. I had gotten a working holiday visa for Australia. Actually, I had also gotten a working holiday visa for Canada, which I didn't really realize at the time was a really bad idea to have those two running, because you had 1 year to enter one of those two countries, and when you entered you had 1 year to live, to work, to be there. But that's later. So I went to Australia to see, basically to go, because it seemed like that was the place I wanted to go. It was warm, and it was, my friend Stefan was there, and it just seemed like it would make sense to go there. A lot of I've known a lot of, or heard a lot of people who had gone to Australia, so I thought, why not? I landed in Perth in the western of West Australia, and I had no idea what was going to happen. No idea. But what happened was I lost my backpack did not arrive, and even though I received that back within a few days, I also lost my passport within the first, I think, few weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. But the first period of time I spent I was staying at hostels, just bumming around Perth, meeting Stefan once in a while. He kind of helped me set up my travel life initially with a SIM card for my phone, because if you want a job, it's important to have a phone, and to set me up with Couchsurfing, which is a traveling network where you can make a profile and you can become part of this community of travelers, and you can stay in people's houses for some days or something. And it was actually where it started to open up, because I stayed in hostels for the first few weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, and just bummed around Perth, not really knowing what I was going to do. But then I contacted this guy Matt Porter, who was an ambassador for Couchsurfing in Perth. And I went up to his family farm, which is sort of a hobby farm, with I think we were 7 other travelers. So it was a packed car, and we basically drove into nothing, like in pure darkness, on a bumping road, not knowing where the hell we were going. And then we came to this big shed of a house that had been a place where an older Australian military person has been living for the last many years, and they had taken over the place. He had actually him and his army buddies had made an annual party to give back to the Timor people, because a lot of the Timor people, if you know that country, they were hiding a lot of Aussies. So he basically felt like he owed them his life. There was some history to it, and I didn't know that at the time, but we had a perfect weekend. We cooked together, we had fun, we played, and we had a dip in the dam, and we had sort of a full day where in the afternoon we drove back to Perth, and then I had a bit of company. So I stayed along with these 5 other travelers, and we were actually sleeping together on beaches, and I continued to bum around with an English guy, and I continued to sleep around outside with him for a few weeks, because I really fell in love with the place and the farm. And the name of it is Myaravale. And I fell in love with it because I was also in pursuit of staying in Australia for longer. and that meant if you were working in a rural area for 3 months, you could actually get 2 years in total, so you could get an additional year to be in Australia. So that was my goal, and I wanted to go up to the farm again because I really wanted to pursue staying there. So I went up a second weekend, which I think was just a week after, or 2 weeks after, I don't remember. And that's when I asked, because I really loved the place, and I wish I could stay there. And they had never had a person staying there for a longer period of time, even though they've had helpers coming once in a while. So Matt Porter, the oldest son of the family there, he talked to his dad, and within a couple of weeks we had arranged that I would come up there and I would start working, and we would make a plan in terms of getting chickens, what to grow, and really begin to build up the place. So that was my start, and that was really awesome. It was perfect, and the place for me was just awesome. I could be in solitude, and I could read and write every evening, and I could be outside every day. In nature, basically in the quiet nature around kangaroos and really hot weather. So that was my next 4 months, where I worked extremely hard every day, and it was fun because every weekend Matt would come up to to the farm, and he would see the changes. First of all, the changes inside the shed and the farmhouse. I had cleaned out everything and made it really look nice. They had a lot of flags from all over the world that I had set up around the house on the inside, so it really made it a lot of colorful and international and inviting. And then we began to grow a garden and make a fence around the garden, and so many things were happening. And every weekend there was small parties, and people came up, Matt's friends and their family friends, and we had a big party at the end of May, which was Matt's birthday, which is basically a continuation of the history of the place. And that meant that tons of people came, a lot of music. It was a medieval party. I'll try to link a picture if I can from that party that you can see right below here or on Facebook somewhere. I'm try to figure that out. I'm learning. I have to learn editing. Yes. So, but what was fun was that there was so much happening. It was nature, it was solitude for me, which was important. It was hard work, physical hard work, but there was a lot of people coming through all the time. There was other travelers staying there for a few weeks, a few months, and it became sort of a place where I became really well known for being there and doing a lot of hard work, and it was fun. I had so much gratitude for the family, for the place, and it became really dear to my heart, and it still is. So during those 4 months, that was an amazing time, and I also started to realize I had to probably move on at some stage, and that was decided in the early part of July. And the course was to go up to Broome, which was kind of halfway between Perth and the north of Western Australia, on a bus where I met a lot of travelers and so on. And in addition to that, I was through Matt. He knew somebody up there who had a bar complex, and I became a yardie, which was sort of a guy who could be outside doing some gardening and watering and paint, all this maintenance kind of stuff, but also helping out in the bar once in a while. So that was the next period of time, and I was in Broome from the end of July until I think mid-November, and it's a very tropical place, very humid compared to Perth, and it's where a lot of people go during the winter period in the southern Australia, the south of Australia, because it's warmer. I worked there for quite a while. It was pretty good. Stefan came up and saw me. He was in Australia for a while. I, again, got a network and got some friends. And but it was also a challenging time because I was basically there to save up money. And as I began to figure out that I actually wanted to, because I left Denmark to try to renew myself. And I didn't really know what that meant, but I started to realize during, after 6 months, that I really wanted to study personal development even more again. So I started to read a lot of books again, and felt a fire that I felt for personal growth and development and so on, which meant that I also felt like it was sort of, I was being less energetic or less enthused about staying in Broome, which led to a couple of, I basically got fired from a place, got another job as a concreter. If you don't like to work hard, don't do that. That was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, I think, work-wise, because it was so hot up there, and you had to hammer picks in the ground all day long in 40, 50 degree heat. It was fucking crazy. And then I went back to Perth after that, during November until early January, where I had another job at a factory, a metal factory that made these metal boxes for electric inputs, that is on the big poles that you see with wires outside. So I was there for 5 to 6 weeks, saved up a bit more money, and then I had already decided to go and leave Australia, and when I was going to go to another, I'm going to start another circle in my life, which was basically going to conferences, workshops, connect with people, network, because it just seemed like that was where I was heading. So that was my year in Australia, a very fun year. A lot of things happened, a lot of network, friends, experiences, and I have been back there since, and it'll be a video later on. So for now, that's a long video, but I think you got some information about my first year of traveling. It was very fun, and what I can say most is that it's about having faith in the unknown. I learned that from Stefan, who had already started his life traveling that way, and having faith in the unknown is probably the most important thing I've learned throughout my travels, to really trust that things will be okay, that there's nothing to fear and everything will be okay. So I'll finish with that, and hope that you will subscribe to the channel. A lot of videos will come, not only Dailyg, a lot of other stuff will come. So the Dailyg number 4 is the next one, and that is an exciting adventure because a lot of things happen there. See you later.